Hey, what's up you guys, the Dark Knight here back in with another video, and today we're finally taking a look at the DC Comics Multiverse Ultimate Movie Batman Collection. Now right off the bat, I do want to put out a disclaimer that I am going to be kind of speeding through this video as this is a pretty big set, and that also includes with the packaging. If you haven't seen the packaging, it's all over, postings of these figures online. It's kind of a big box that has sort of opening, and it showcases all the figures throughout the years, and it has their little logos and everything, and it's really cool. So for any like inbox collectors, this is really nice piece, but if you want to have them out in the box like I do over here, well, we're going to take a look at these figures. So for accessories, we pretty much get the typical trading card slash, bases for the figures. One of the major accessories over here, of course, is the bat signal. Now, I don't have it out right now, but this bat signal does come with multiple different lenses. This is mainly the bat signal that's been used throughout the Schumacher movies and the Tim Burton films. You also get a Justice League Batman bat signal, or at least the one that was showcased in BVS. You get a Dark Knight bat signal with the Dark Knight logo, and then of course you get the Robert Pattinson one. It's got all the shades going on throughout. I don't have them out here because I kind of love this look of the bat signal over here. I think it's the most classic and iconic, and it kind of fits with all the other Batman figures. But if you want to change the lenses, I'll just showcase it really quickly. You want to pull out this top sort of ring over here, like so, and then as you can see, you can have the lens over here, and you can pull it out through the bottom here, and then you make your switch. So that's pretty cool. I really like that it had that feature. Mcfarlane could have very easily just given us, this bat signal and not given us the option to use other ones. So I'm very happy that they've given us that opportunity. With this bat signal over here too, it actually does light up. You can see the bulb that's in the center over there. And the way how you turn it on, you would pull out this white tag. I'm not going to pull out because I don't plan on turning it on, but you pull out the white tag and then you switch it to on. So that's really nice as well too. And then the bat signal in itself, it's not really iconic to any of the films, but it's great for the most part. It looks like the bat signal. If you had a generalized sort of like idea of what the bat signal would look like, this is mainly what it is to me. It's a little bit hollow on the inside over here, as you can see, but it kind of gets the job done as it's supposed to. You have the little gargoyles at the ends. So just a really nice centerpiece if you're displaying all these Batman figures together. And in terms of scaling with the bat signal, you can see it next to the Ben Affleck Batman over here. And as you can see, at least I think it's a pretty decent scale. I don't think it's too big. I don't think it's too small. I think it's just around, maybe it could have been a little bit bigger, but I think it's a pretty good size. As for the figures over here, we're going to start out through the timeline of the Batman films. And of course, Michael Keaton started it all off. If you want, I guess you could say that Adam West actually did, but for the purpose of this set, Michael Keaton was the one who started out the Batman. And yeah, this is a brand new figure over here. I believe this is the same figure that we're going to be getting with the Batmobile 2-pack set, the re-released one that they're putting out, I think, later on in the fall. But of course, this is the look that Michael Keaton had in the '89 Batman film. So it's got all the muscle going on in the suit over there, and everything looks fairly accurate, to be completely honest. The likeness to Michael Keaton is also really good as well, too. I know a lot of people were saying it has a very big resemblance to the Batman Begins sort of cowl, but I think it looks pretty good. I think it looks pretty good. And also people too were saying, they kind of wish that they didn't have any neck joint, just because in the film, Michael Keaton couldn't really move his neck anyway. But for the purpose of this, I really like it. And then of course, going down the legs over here, you got the boots. And fun fact, I'm sure everyone's heard about this by now, but in the film, Batman actually had Nikes on. So I guess, I don't know if they're the exact Nike pair over there, but it looks like it could resemble a Nike. At least at the bottom there, you get the treads and the two pegals. So yeah, really nice looking figure. It's got a little bit of a shiny sort of black going out throughout it, and the gold and the yellow looks really good as well too. So overall aesthetically, I think really good. Now, in terms of our articulation, I'm going to go through it really quickly because most of these figures have the exact same articulation. The head can go up around that much. It can go down. It can move side to side. You can pivot it a little bit. You do have some arm articulation over here with a butterfly joint. You can go up around that much. You can go up, down, bicep swivel, double jointed elbows like that, and then a wrist swivel along with a bit of a hinge on the swivel. And then over here for the diaphragm joint, He can move down about that much. He also has a waist joint in there too, so the two of them combined. He goes back really far, which is great if you want to get those poses where, you know, Michael Keaton's looking up because he couldn't move his neck. You can definitely get that. And then he does tilt to this side, tilt to that side. So really good range over there. Legs kick forward. You know, there is some hindering because of the way how the I guess the underpants were kind of sculpted over here. But he can kick back, and then on the side, he can do the splits like so. Oh, it's kind of getting a little bit loose. So be a little bit careful with that. But anyway, he does have a double jointed knee in there like that, and also ankle articulation, which is down, up, and a bit of ankle pivot, along with toe articulation, if it ever will get me to move. Yeah, and then toe articulation as well. Another thing I like about this Michael Keaton Batman is how you're able to get the cape over his shoulders over here. When he comes out of the packaging, it's kind of like behind him like that, but you can, you know, sort of mangle it around to get it in front like it looks like in the films. So yeah, I really like that. And you know, the cloth cape really works well with this figure, as you know, it allows for all those extra poses and doesn't make him too top heavy. After Michael Keaton, we do have the one and only Val Kilmer over here, and this is him inside of his sonar suit that we saw in Batman Forever, so near the end of the film. And I really actually liked that suit in the film. It actually looked really good. I know a lot of people say that it looks a lot like, you know, as a toy would, because it was made basically to sell toys. But, you know, like the aesthetic, I love like all the different colors in it, because the other suit he had in the film was like the Panther suit, so it was all black, so there wasn't really much going on. But at least in figure form over here, it turned out really nice. It has like a bit of a shinier sort of dark blue with a little bit of like a frost inside of it too. So I'm a really big fan of that. And yeah, of course, Val Kilmer's likeness is very apparent with this figure, so I really enjoy that. The belt over here is a bit of a gray along with a gold in the inside. The arms has that sort of like fin going on over there, which looks really great as well too. And then the rest of the body just has that unique sort of pattern going along with the suit's insert versus the suit's, I guess, you know, outside. But the boots over here look really cool as well too. It's got that sort of like V shape going on, and then the back over here a little more shinier blue just going all along, and it really makes him stand out with the rest of Batman figures, as Batman's like really just, you know, the gray and the black sort of color, so having a bit of a shinier blue is really nice. To go through articulation really quickly, head moves up about that much, can move down. You can move side to side. There's a bit of pivot in there. Arms, again, do go out. They go forward, back, bicep swivel. Double jointed elbows, wrist articulation, which is a swivel, and then hinge. And then, of course, you do have the diaphragm joint, which goes down for that much. 2 points, once again, goes back. You can tilt, you know, go all the way around. So it's really great. Again, with the Michael Keaton figure, you do have the kick up, kick back, along with the hindering because of the underwear sort of thing going on over there. Or the briefs, boxers, I don't know what you want to call it. But he can do the splits. He does have a double jointed knee, which is a lot of clicking, but there you go. And then, of course, he does have the feet articulation, which is down like that, up like that, bit of a pivot, which is really nice. And then you do have the toe hinges. And we move into George Clooney over here from Batman and Robin. He's inside his Panther suit, which does have the nipples, as you can see over here. And this looks great as well too. I love the likeness to George Clooney. You know, and just, I think, at least in comparison with the rest of the figures over here, this one has the best proportions, I would say. But yeah, the cowl looks really good. As you can see, he has the bat symbol with the bat nipples, the muscular sort of Greek god looking design that Schumacher wanted in these films is really apparent on this figure. I have, again, you know, the utility belt with the bat logo over there. He's got the fins again, the same thing that we saw with the Val Kilmer figure. I don't think they might be the same. I know. I think they're a little bit different, slightly different. So that's at least good, knowing that they're not the exact same sculpt. And then the back over here, you have the exact same sort of bluish black. And then the legs over here look really nice, along with the bat symbols at the bottom where the boots are. And then the feet are pretty plain. They have a sort of like V shape that's going along over there. And the back of the boots there. And of course, the 2 peg holes on the bottom of the feet. So in terms of articulation, it's the exact same thing. You do have the head goes up around that much. It can go down. It can move side to side. There's a bit of pivot in there. You do have the arms go out. They move forward, back, bicep swivel, double jointed elbows, which move in really far. You do have the wrist articulation, which goes, swivel and hinge up and down. You have the diaphragm joint with the sort of waist joint over here where you can go down a bunch, you can go back a bunch, you can move. It's the exact same thing. I'm not going to keep going over it. But anyway, the leg, same joint once again, a little bit hindered. It can move back, just do the splits a little bit. And then a double jointed knee like that. And the feet articulation that goes down, up, and a bit of a pivot, and a toe hinge. Next, we do have the Christian Bale Batman from The Dark Knight / The Dark Knight Rises, and this one looks really good as well too. We saw this figure before earlier this year in the Dark Knight trilogy wave, and yeah, this figure looks great. There's really nothing bad I have to say about it. That's a pretty good likeness to Christian Bale, at least for me over there. And one thing I really love about the suit is that it really shows, a difference between the black and the grays. So aesthetically, it's very nice looking. You can see it throughout the entirety of the armor. And yeah, I will say this one does seem a little bit more muscular than, Christian Bale does appear in the film. But I kind of like it because it's a little bit more of a comic book, Batman approach. So at least, I really favor that. But then the boots over here, they do have the gray coloring as well too. And just the overall sculpt and texturing is it's so detailed on this figure. It looks absolutely fantastic. But again, in terms of articulation, head can move about that much, move down, there's a pivot, side to side, all that mumbo jumbo. The only thing with this figure is the shoulder pads over here. It does hinder a little bit of the articulation, but it does move up over the cape over here. Then, of course, you can move down, up. There's a bicep swivel. Double jointed elbows, which can move farther than that, but for some reason, mine's really stuck at the moment. But anyway, wrist articulation, hinge up and down. You do have a diaphragm joint with the waist joint over here. Move down about that much. You can move back and move side to side. Yeah, everything. You can kick forward the same exact way. He can kick back a little bit. And then the splits over there as well, too. Then, of course, he does have the double jointed knees, which move in about that far. And then, of course, the feet articulation, which goes down, up, bit of an ankle pivot, ever so slightly. This one is a little bit more stuck for some reason. But then, of course, he does have the hinge on the toes. Next, we have Ben Affleck from the Justice League film, and this is him inside of his tactical suit over here. I already said what I need to say in the previous video where this set was first revealed. I do think they should have gone with the BVS look. I think that was the most iconic look for Ben Affleck's Batman, but they kind of took the cheap route over here and, reused a figure that they did a couple of years ago. Yeah, a couple of years ago now, because that was 2021 when Justice League first came out. Wow, time flies. But anyway, we do get a new head sculpt over here. The previous head sculpt had, the goggles on, or the goggles on top was the platinum version. So I am glad that we actually get to see Ben Affleck's eyes over here, and it's not really covered by anything. So that looks really good. You do have the same exact chest piece over here of the tactical armor, and this looks really good as well too. Again, the same thing with the Dark Knight figure. This one has a lot of detail going throughout it. The only thing I would say about this one is that it could use a little bit more paint. For example, like with the gauntlets over here, I know in the film they were painted gold, as well as the knuckles over here were also gold. One thing that's very different with this Ben Affleck Batman is that he does have open hands, and that's, I think, is really because that figure didn't come with any extra hands when it was originally released. So because it's a reuse, they're using the exact same sculpt, and so this figure has the open hands. That belt, I know for certain, was a gold color. So unfortunately, they didn't paint that. It's just a flat gray, which kind of sucks, but you also have the rest of the armor over here, which looks really good as well too. There's a lot of different details in it. You can see all, the battle marks and that sort of stuff. So looks really, really good. And then the feet over here do look great as well too. You have the silver going along again. These sort of toe caps should also be gold, but then you also have the treads at the bottom here with, the warnings and stuff with 2 peg holes once again. For articulation, once again, the exact same thing. The head does move up, moves down. There's a little bit of a pivot, side to side, all that. You can move the arm about that much. You can move up, down, bicep swivel, double jointed elbows, along with wrist articulation. The waist has the 2 joints over here, so you can move it down. This one's a little bit more hindered because of the armor, but you can move back slightly as well too. The feet can go up around that much. You can move back. You do have the splits on this one. For some reason, you can't really do it as much. You do have a double jointed knee in here, which goes around that far. And of course the feet articulation, which is down, up, pivot, and toe hinge. Finally, we have Robert Pattinson Batman from the Batman movie that came out last year. And yeah, it's a re-release from the figure that came out originally from that. It just has the cloth cape now. And you know, the sculpt was really good at the time. I think his chin did look a little bit big in some cases, but I think here, at least the way how they painted it looks really good. In person, at least looks really good. I don't know if it's coming up a little bit worse on camera or not, but you do have, you know, the bat armor that's going on over here. And this, you know, I think really just serves the purpose of what it's supposed to serve. You do have a little bit of gray dry brushing. I don't know if the camera's picking it up, but it does help with, you know, sort of the realism from the figure. You have the back over here, which looks great as well too. Once again, like the same thing with a lot of these figures is that there's a lot of, you know, detailing in it. It's just the paint, I guess, is not, you know, the greatest thing ever. But what are you really going to expect with a $30 figure? You also have the gauntlets over here that has like those little, I guess, like needle looking, you know, weapons. We never saw it being used in the film, which is kind of odd to me, but you do have the shoulder pads there. You do have the utility belt over here, which is like a glossy black. I think that looks great as well too. And then for the rest of the suit over here, I have that sort of like more kind of tactical look, a little bit more rugged, more put together type look. One thing I think he's missing over here is this little like grapnel gun holster. Knee pads over here look really great. You can see once again with all the sort of like battle, you know, scar marks that are in there. Either that or my figure got scratched, but I don't think that's the case. The boots here look really good as well too. You can see all the wrinkles inside of it. Looks really, really good, man. You do have the feet over here that has like the little laces on it. And then of course, the bottom of the feet that have two pecals, which is fantastic. For articulation, once again, the head can move up, you move down, there's a bit of a pivot and side-to-side movement. You can move the arm up a little bit. Same thing with the Dark Knight figure, the Christian Bale one. The shoulder pad kind of does hinder a little bit, but it does go up and over the cape, which is nice. I just wouldn't leave it in this position for a long time or else, you know, it might get stuck like that. But anyway, you do have a bicep swivel, double jointed elbows, which is great. You do have the wrist articulation, which is a swivel and a hinge. You do have the ab articulation, which is at 2 points. You can move him down. For some reason, this one is kind of stiff, but you can move back, you can pivot, you can do all the things that you want. You can kick forward a little bit, you can kick back a little bit, you can do the splits just like that, which looks great. You have the double jointed knees in there, along with the ankle articulation, which is down, up. A little bit of a pivot, and the toe articulation. So final thoughts on these figures, you guys. I actually really, really enjoyed this set. I know I went through the figures pretty quickly, but that's just due to the sheer amount of figures that this box set does come with. I want to keep the video a little bit quick for you guys. Right off the bat, no pun intended, I will say I really like the price for this set. At least for me, in Canada, this was about $200 after taxes. I think beforehand it was like somewhere around like the $170 price, 170 to 180 price. And you know, for 6 figures, including a bat signal, that's a pretty good deal in my opinion, especially if you're a huge Batman fan and you love all these sort of like versions of the characters. I also really enjoy the pics of these characters for the most part. The only one that I really have a gripe with is the Ben Affleck one. I do really think that that should have been the BVS version. But at the same time, I can understand, you know, Mcfarlane doesn't want to spend too much money on this new set, so you know, there's going to be a lot of re-releases here and there. But at least for the new releases, that being the Michael Keaton, Val Kilmer, and George Clooney figures, I think they turned out really good. The sculpting on all of them looks really great for the most part. The paint detailing, once again, is good on most of the figures. I'll say I really like the paint detailing on the Val Kilmer, the Michael Keaton, and the Christian Bale one. But at least for the George Clooney, Robert Pattinson, and Ben Affleck, I feel like there could have been a little bit more there. Especially on the Ben Affleck because, you know, there's just missing gold highlights all throughout. But the likenesses on all the figures look really good. I think, you know, at least in person, they look like they're actors. But articulation, as I said, is the same on all of them. And, you know, it's fantastic articulation. You know, Mcfarlane has done already a great job with including a great amount of articulation in their figures. The cloth capes are a great addition too, as well as, you know, the bat signal. It kind of, like, you know, makes this set feel exclusive, even though it's made up of a lot of re-released figures. But yeah, at least for me, like, I'm a huge Batman fan, and I love, you know, all the Batman films, and to see it all together, it's a great reflection of, you know, Batman throughout the movies, and it's a great set for any Batman fan to have, really. I would have never thought, you know, back in the Mattel days, that we'd ever get anything like on the scale of this. This is great. This is absolutely, like, I applaud you, Mcfarlane. Thank you so much for actually putting something like this together, because this is so cool. But I will say, like, you know, if you're one of those people who are the fans of the Val Kilmer and the George Clooney Batman, I wouldn't pick this up just yet if you don't want to spend too much on it, because I do know that those figures will be getting a single release later on this year in their own particular waves. So be on the lookout for that. But if you're new to collecting and, you know, you're a huge Batman fan, this is definitely a great starter kit for you. And actually, like, you know, maybe just collect this kit in itself, because it's a great display piece. The bat signal makes a great display piece. It's great all around. Now, if I were to rank these figures out, I've obviously, like, you know, the re-release figures would probably go first for me. I'd probably start out with Ben Affleck at number 6. The Justice League suit, I don't really think matches with the rest of these costumes over here, as I said, you know, 100 times. It should have been the BVS suit, and, you know, the paint detailing isn't the greatest on it. I really do like the new inclusion of the newer head, which looks really good, but otherwise, like, I just feel like that figure needed some work. So unfortunately, he's at 6th place. At 5th place, I probably put the Robert Pattinson Batman. Although I really like the head sculpt in this, I don't know if they've changed anything, but the paint detailing looks a little bit nicer. It does still suffer from some proportion issues in the figure. The arms are a little bit too long. The legs, for the most part, are pretty good, but they look like they're a little bit bent too far in. And the torso definitely needs to be bigger. At 4th place, I probably put the George Clooney figure. Although I'm a huge fan of how this figure turned out, the suit in itself just doesn't allow for too much, you know, detailing to go along, because it's a pretty plain suit in itself. And of course, George Clooney's Batman suit isn't, you know, really the greatest, because, you know, I don't think anyone's a huge fan of the nipples in the suit. But if you are, you know, like, no offense to you, if you love the figure, that's up to you. It's just, for me, I'm not a huge fan of that look. 3rd place, I'd probably give it either, this one's really tough for me. 3rd place, I'd probably give to the Christian Bale Batman. Although I'm a huge fan of how that, you know, that suit turned out. It's very detailed, and, you know, has some great paint detailing at the same time as well, too. The likeness for Christian Bale doesn't really look too spot on to me. And, you know, like, as I said, I love the figure, but that just kind of what brings it down slightly for me. For my 2nd place, I'm going to put the Michael Keaton Batman. And really, like, that and the Christian Bale one were kind of in a tie. It's just, I like the Michael Keaton Batman a little bit more, because I feel like the likeness to it looks a little bit more closer to Michael Keaton than the Christian Bale does to me. And, you know, I might get hate for saying that, because I know a lot of people think it doesn't look like Michael Keaton, but personally, like, I think it does. I think Michael Keaton has a little bit more of an easier likeness to capture, just because of his lips, you know, those iconic sort of bat lips. But the paint detail in the Michael Keaton Batman is also really great as well, too. It's a very, like, sort of like shiny sheen on the figure. It doesn't look too glossy. It's a little bit more matte. So yeah, I'm a really big fan of it. In 1st place, though, I definitely need to give it to the Val Kilmer Batman. He just stands out to the rest of the figures. I think it was a really good choice to make it the Sonar suit as opposed to the Panther suit, similar to the George Clooney Batman. It's just overall a great looking suit that's, like, really well detailed, and, you know, the shiny blue it just makes it pop. And the likeness to Val Kilmer is, like, unbeatable. I think it's the best likeness to, like, all the figures inside of this this set. Yeah, as I said, like, if you're a Batman fan, this is a definite pickup. You know, if you have most of these figures already, you could probably pass upon and wait until they get their single releases. But for the most part, you know, if you're not that big into collecting, this is an absolutely, it's a great set to get. But let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. I really enjoy it. This has probably got to be, like, one of, you know, the best sort of pickups that I've made in my collection. And that's saying a lot, because I am a huge Batman fan, and most of the stuff that I collect is Batman. Just, again, I just really love the idea of it, like having a set full of all the different Batman actors throughout the years. But as every YouTuber begs you to do, please like, comment, and subscribe. And hopefully I'll see you guys in the next video. Take care.